how would you like to introduce yourself and what's your background?
Well, first of all, thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this webinar. I'm originally from Mexico. I did the equivalent to animal science in Monterrey Tech. And I ranched there in Mexico. Well, I was born in a ranch. My father has a little ranch in Chihuahua, Mexico. Then I moved to Monterrey. And after college, I worked in a couple of ranches there in Tamaulipas. One of them for 15 years, and one of them for the last 5 years. But unfortunately for my country, things got not very pleasant with criminals and everything. So we had to move. And we had all United States as an option. We prayed, we asked God to put us where He wanted us, and He brought us to Fort Sumner, New Mexico. We found this ranch that has been abused for almost 10 years. It had no grass at all. And on top of that, bad situation for a lack of management. We got here in 2012 when in the middle of one of the worst droughts. So in that ranch, 8,800 acres, there was no grass for feeding 30 cows. I got this ranch, I started leasing this ranch with 200 cows. I pre-checked them. I got rid of the open. I kept only 60 were pregnant. And out of those 60, I had to sell and sell and sell. At the end, I ended with 30. And those 30, I had to feed them from January 2013 through May 2013 when it started raining. And a little bit of grass patches started growing among the bare ground. So that's how we got here. The bad situation of this ranch made it possible for us to make a deal on the ranch and make an offer and made a contract to buy it. So now we started leasing it, but now we're paying it. And with the experience that I had there in Mexico doing rotational grazing, is how we started managing those 30 cows. Those 30 cows became almost 150 within 5 years. And on top of that, I was able to bring cattle from a company from Texas that run the Akaushi cattle. The Akaushi is the Japanese breed where you get the Kobe beef. So they sent me 100 cows. So by 2017, 5 years later, I was running 280 cows in a ranch that is usually, according to the normal stocking rate, should be 480 cows. I was running 280, making some progress in the grassland, not destroying it, but improving it. But I went into this drought 18, 19, and 20 with no rain. So again, I had to get rid of those cows that were from somebody else. And my 100 and some cows, I had to reduce them again back to 80 cows. So at the beginning of 2021, I had 80 cows, and by now we're back to 180. And with in 2017, when we were running 280, we still had a lot of bare ground that we have been covering through the years. 2021, 22, and 23 have been regular rainy years, below average, but very well season. So we have seen the result of all the work that we did with animal impact and improvement. We have seen a lot of new plants, new bare ground getting covered with rotation, and we know that we can go back to 280, maybe 300, maybe 400 cows, according to the experience of some people doing the ultra-intensive grazing system, and according to what the numbers of NRCS site descriptions tell us. all these grasslands has more potential than many people can think about. If you see the site descriptions, they say if it's in poor condition, it produces 500 pounds per acre. In good condition, it produces 1,500 pounds per acre. Right there, you have 3 times more than what actually are producing. By now, most of the grasslands are deteriorated, so they have potential to produce 2 or 3 times more what people think, and that's what we're trying to do.
That was great, Jorge. I love how I asked you to introduce yourself and your background, and you talked about your land. And I think that actually says so much about how producers think about themselves, is they think about themselves not as part of the land that they're stewarding. So I love that you just went there. So thank you for that. And the timeline. And I think the other thing for people watching is how up and down, you know, you are so, your decisions are not always your own. Drought is sometimes just forcing your hand on making decisions. So, great. Well, my next question is that everyone in agriculture seems to wear many hats. So what are some of the things that you do professionally related to agriculture? And I think you were doing one of those things today, even.
Well, when the drought hit, well, I came to this ranch supposedly to run 200 cows. And as I told you, I had to get down to 30. So it was very soon in January of 2013 that I realized that 30 cows will not provide for my family. So I had to work outside the ranch. I started, I have developed my own method of horsemanship. So I started some horses at the beginning. With that method, I give some exhibitions and some courses there in Mexico. So when I came here, I started working horses, but soon I realized that horses, even if they don't want, they can hurt you. And if a horse hurt me, I will not be able to work somewhere else, and I will not be able to provide for my family. So I quit doing the horse work, and I went to town and looked for jobs, and I had to learn how to weld, and I have tried to share my knowledge about rotational grazing with a lot of cattlemen. Very few has asked me a little further, so I started fencing, building barns, cowboying for brandings, and day working. What else? Yeah, feeding cows for people, feeding cows for somebody else, because even through the droughts, I have tried not to pamper my cows. I feed them as least as possible, and at the very end, people see my cows in very poor condition compared to those that are fed. But at the very end, I have been more profitable than them, because what my cows produce is for me, what their cows produce is for the feed store. So yeah, I had to go and work outside the ranch, and at the same time, a step outside and a foot outside and a foot in the ranch, taking care of that growing herd and growing grass and growing. I don't know many people paying a ranch, growing a herd, growing grass, and growing a family all at the same time. And praise God, we have been able to do it.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to hear, is that it's not easy. You may have to drive around and find work, but you have a beautiful family and everybody's happy and healthy, and yeah, and out and heading out of college now. So
yeah,
that's great. And then I happen to know you do leather tooling also. Is that for fun, or is that something
that's
else?
a hobby. Yeah,
that's for fun. Okay, you're not secretly a millionaire from
no.
leather tooling. Too bad. All right. This next question is what motivates you in your work, and how does your work align with your interests and values?
There are many things almost at the same level. First of all, my family, but at the same time, watching the land, that the land has been deteriorated by human mismanagement. If I can see the land being restored at the same time that my family is getting values, education, obviously is fed. If I can do both at the same time, that's my main goal. So I'm very disappointed when I drive everywhere and I see erosion, I see loss of soil, loss of biodiversity, poor productivity. And I know I did it there in Mexico for 15 years. I know that it's possible to grow grass, and produce beef sustainably. And that's my main motivation to do it and to let people know. If you ask me, I will start talking about it. I'm not that kind of people that I know what I'm doing. I do it in secret. No, if somebody asks me, I give them the whole explanation because I want to leave a better world for my kids, for my grandkids, and it's not happening. When I was a kid, I lived in Chihuahua, and I remember during my childhood, the grassland that my father was managing and all the ranches around it, what it was grandma grassland became bushes and became mesquite and huizache, and the soil was lost. That happened in my childhood. In 20 years, I saw it happen before my eyes. And in the ranches that I work in Mexico and here, it's been 20 some years, I have seen the reverse process, and I'm very excited about it. And now it's possible, and I wish somebody will be more interested in it.
Yeah, so it sounds like a little bit you know that you can't do it alone, and that's why you're willing to share that you're driving around these large landscapes and seeing things, and you're like, well, here's what I know is working for myself and my family, and reversing those changes. And I want to talk about it because there is so much to do, and we can all share the work.
And it's also a little discouraging that, for example, people that has nothing to do with cattle business, I explain them everything I'm doing, and they get very excited. I do rotational grazing. Oh, that sounds good. Why you do it? Because that's the only way that your plants rest and produce more. And oh, that's great. And I'm using this technology and this technology and this technology, and they get excited. I talk to people running ranches. No, that what you're doing. No, we already tried it. It doesn't work. No, we're good as we are. This is the way we've been doing it for years, and it has worked good enough for us. When they have in front of their eyes grandma grass that used to be this tall, now it's not grandma grass. Now it's sun drop seed, this tall, and they are happy with it. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like when you can see that there's a better way, and other folks are content or not ready to change. Yeah, that can be really frustrating.
I wanna if you allow me to share this.
Yeah.
This is the ranch I was managing there in Mexico. And this is the little ranch that I had. If you see them, they are almost the same color than the surrounding ranches. Well, after 15 years of my management, if you Google your eyes, and this is Google Earth image, it's nothing that I made up, is the Google Earth image. Because of this color, we have more grass,
Wow.
And because of that grass, we had food for the cows, and we had hawks, and we had cougar, and we had foxes, and we had bobcats. We had a lot of biodiversity, and we were more profitable than many ranches around. With
Wow.
that progress, we were able to build a new barn with horse stalls, a whole new set of pens, a swimming pool in the headquarters, 3 houses for the families working at the ranch. We brought the power line into the ranch. We made a whole new water system with pipeline and drinkers. Every year we had money enough to make some progress just by doing it, by running more cattle than the rest of the people, but doing it in a sustainable way.
Wow. Wow. And then you that actually leads into my next question, which is how did you get your position now? How, you had built all of that in Mexico and then you had to let it go and move and start again. So how did you start again? How did you get your position?
Well, as I told you, we came here leasing the ranch because the owner wanted to go somewhere else. It's a long story. We got here in September 2012. It didn't rain all that year. Then he told me, okay, you won't pay rent until it rains. So we got some rain in May, and by June, he told me, hey, can you start paying rent again? And I told him, you know what? I don't have cattle. It rained water. It didn't rain grass. It didn't rain cattle, and it didn't rain money. So I'm broken. And he said, well, I will have to sell the ranch. And he started selling some possible clients. And I had to show the ranch to those possible clients, knowing that if one of them will say, I want to buy the ranch, I will have to go back to Mexico where I had lost my job, I had sold my ranch, I had nothing to go back to Mexico. But the ranch was so depleted that nobody was interested. So that was a good thing. At the very end, he said, okay, nobody's interested in my ranch. What's the deal you can offer? And okay, I told my wife, hey, the owner wants to sell the ranch, and he asked me what we can offer. And she said, are you sure this is the ranch for us? And I told her, well, this is the ranch that we can afford, and this is the ranch that in the future we'll be able to provide for the family. That's all I know about. I know there are better ranches, but they are either more expensive or smaller, and she didn't trust me too much, so she prayed. And she said, God, if this is the ranch for us, I want to see rain. 3 days later, we got some rain. And she said, no, God, seriously, if this is the ranch for us, I want to see rain 3 days in a row, and I want to see Red Lake. Red Lake is across the highway. I want to see Red Lake full. 10 days later, we got rain 3 days in a row, and Red Lake got full. And she told me, you can go and sign the contract. So we signed the contract to purchase the ranch from the owner. And then 3 years later, I was able to involve farm credit. Farm credit paid off the owner, and now I'm paying the ranch to farm credit. So that's for the down payment. I sold the ranch, the little ranch we have there in Mexico, but it was very, compared to the value of this ranch, was nothing. But if you ask me, the only reason I can tell you is God has provided. God has provided knowledge, talent, grace before people who hire me, and has made the little be abundant.
Yeah, it sounds like you had, yeah, a really strong grounding in your faith and your connection with your family, and
Mhm.
that you also leveraged like everything you could. You used the funding from your old ranch for the down payment, and then you got connected in with some of the other programs that were available. So
I'm
that it
very,
was really like pulling things from every
yes,
direction.
I'm very thankful. People here in United States should appreciate the government programs, NRCS, FSA, the drought insurance that the government pays half of it. We don't have anything like that there in Mexico. So if you ask me, could you do it? Well, if I was making it there in Mexico, it's way easier to make it here in the United States because there's a lot of help here. And if you just open your eyes and your ears and make what it requires to, I just had to say, hey, I'm new in town and I'm running that piece of land over there. And suddenly, okay, we're in drought. Here is a check for the drought. Here is a check for the CRP, for the NAP and the LFP. A lot of programs that I had no idea that they will be so good and so accessible for people.
Um, wow, that is not what you hear all the time. Some people have a hard time accessing those. I'm so glad that I'm guessing for you listeners, I think there's a big piece of persistence
Yes.
that, that was part of
As I
being
tell you,
successful in those.
when you cannot go back to where you came from,
Mm,
when you have a family to run, and when you have to survive, uh, your ideas start coming up.
yeah, wow. Um, that was amazing. I'm gonna shift gears out of the sort of bigger picture to like what does your everyday life look like in what you
Okay.
do. So these are sort of three questions that are tied together. So how much time are you on a computer? How much time are you on the road? How much time are you driving, or do you have to, spend nights away? And then how much time do you spend outside?
Okay. I will answer it in two different seasons. For example, in 2017, before the drought, when I was running 280 cows, my day will be like wake up and go and move the portable fence. So your cows are doing the ultra intensive grazing system. Go and do something else during the day. And at the very last time of the day, go and move them again. So I was moving them twice a day. The drought hit. I had to reduce my herd, and the herd was not providing. So now I got back to what I was doing in 13, 14, and 15, that is working outside. So my day usually wake up, go and do a quick loop around the ranch just to see, be sure that there's water, there's where the cows need, and drive somewhere else. I have 3 or 4 different clients that give me day work almost once a week. So Monday I work with one, Tuesday I go to another ranch, and then come back and check again. So how much time on the computer? The least as possible. Uh, the computer, and if I'm talking to young people, to students, social media is stay away from it. It's useless. Use the computer to get more knowledge, to develop what you already know, to develop your own ideas, your own projects. When I was a teenager, I was designing pens and designing ranches and designing, putting together material in PowerPoint to make some conferences. That's what I use the computer for, and that's what, by now, I try to come and check my emails. You have seen that we have some problem in communication because I don't see my emails as often as I should, because I try to use the computer as least as possible. I use it for all my accounting. and for communication, basically. Driving, a lot of driving, several hours a day, going to other ranches or driving here in the ranch. And outside, that's something that I'm very thankful. 90% of my work is outside. So I have the opportunity to see sunrises and sunsets almost every day. And that just help me to position to know who I am and how small I am compared to the whole creation. So that keeps me focused on doing my best, even though I know I'm a little piece of this earth.
And you talked about uh uh being on horses. Do you get to be out
Mhm.
on horses also quite a bit of that time you're outside?
Yes, here at the ranch, we grow horses. We started a breeding program 4 years ago. We produce 4 or 5 colts or fillies a year, and with the knowledge that I have how to break them in a natural way, we in the selection that I've been doing about very good mares and very good stud horses, very well minded. That's what we are producing, and most of the work that we do with the cattle, we try to do it on horses.
Great. Um, what do you do on your favorite days?
Ride horses. When I don't have to go to work somewhere else, I enjoy saddling up my own horse here and go and see my own cows. But that's mostly almost if I can do it that once a week, it's a lot. Usually it takes 2 weeks to for me to have time for myself and now that well since my kids are in college or my daughter just got married, on Saturdays, if I have the Saturday available, I go and visit them. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that actually leads me really nicely into my next question is what kinds of vacations do you get to take? How flexible is it? Or this is trying to get at like what's important to you about the idea of work-life balance? For many people, it's vacations. If it's
Mm.
not vacations for you, what is important about work-life balance?
No, in fact, vacation is something that we try to invest in when we can. For these last 6 years, 3 with no rain, and then 3 with below average, and just paying tuition, and we haven't been able. But when we had the opportunity, we have been in cruises, cruise to Bahamas, to Bermuda. When the kids were little, we were able to take them to Disney World. So, if possible, that's something that I work for. Looking forward to be able to take my family to vacation. Fortunately, they have been very comprehensive, and when it's not possible, it's not possible. But that's something that we try. For example, we made a driving trip. We went all the way north, New Mexico and South Colorado. We went through Española and came back from through Albuquerque. So we went to four corners and and in December we drove all the way to California just to see a ranch that they were doing the rotational racing as we tried to. So we did both. We had some fun and we learned some out of the trip. We are planning on going to uh, Kansas in May after the graduation of the twins. I want to take them to a seminar of ranch regeneration in Kansas. So we try to mix fun and learning in our trips.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and that you are able to leave the ranch and that you really
Yes.
that you feel okay
Well,
with leaving things. Yeah.
Is that very interesting? Yeah, many ranchers say that they cannot leave the ranch because they have to feed it. I have used some technologies that allow me to be a little more independent. For example, some cameras that send you a picture every 2 or 3 hours of how the drinker. I don't have to go all the way to the drinker to see how the drinker is. The colors that you yourself help me to get into with vents, they will, not yet, but they will allow me to do the rotation on my phone. Something very interesting that I wanted this conference or this webinar to say in this webinar. I guess more than 80 or 90% of the land in United States is in hands of people 60 or 70 years old. So why is that? Because new generation are not interested in doing that much work that way. We have to show the new generation that the technology that they are so inclined to can be used to make this work funnier and more productive and more profitable. In the next 10 years, most of the land in the United States will change hands. Who will take it? Either big investors or smart people. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big investor, but I'm trying to be a smart people. Oh. Because this land has nothing else to do than produce beef. If you know to produce beef, how to produce beef profitably, you're in business. But many will get out of business because they don't know how to produce beef profitably.
Mm-hmm. And I think tying it back, and you know what you mentioned earlier is like you do spend time on the computer doing your accounting. It's like maybe it's not your favorite part is being on the computer, but it's part of actually making it profitable is having it as a business.
If you don't know how much you are spending in feed, you don't realize that that cow that produced you a $1,000 calf, you spend $500 in it. That's tough. But if you don't get into the computer, you don't find that out.
What do you not like about your job?
Problems. When you get there and find the drinker is empty, and then you have to go and find the problem, or the electric fence is not working, go and find the problem. You know that you have a problem, but you don't know what problem is it. Or when you find the bank account empty, that happens quite often. But I guess, problems.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds like that part is like, it sounds like what you're really interested in and what aligns with your vision is like the looking ahead and planning and building. And then it's hard that your job is also reacting, right? It's like, oh, this is not something I planned for. I have to react and figure it out.
Yeah, it was very interesting when I found this guy explaining there are important things, urgent things, and necessary things. And sometimes they are not the same. Yeah. So you have to find out, hey, my time, where will I spend it the wisest way? But when you have an empty drinker, nothing else matters than that. But that's why we just buried 5 miles of new pipeline, and we will invest in good storage tanks and in good big drinkers. So the water system should run as automatic as possible. When the water is good, almost everything else is good. If you have water and you take good care of your grassland and you have your cattle trained to be in a continuous rotation, it becomes very easy. And people say, no, rotational grazing is too much work. No. When I was doing the ultra intensive, I will wake up, get ready. Within 30 minutes, I have seen all my cattle in a 10 feet distance because they all went before me from one pasture to another because I rolled 15 feet of the portable fence and I could see them one by one. And I will see all my cattle in the morning, go work somewhere else, and come in the evening and see them all again. How hard is that? It took me 10 minutes to see my cattle twice. And because all my cattle were together, I just had to take care of one drinker. I don't care about, in most ranches, they spend hours and hours going drinker after drinker after drinker after drinker because they have cattle everywhere. So, yeah, let's develop our imagination and find ways to make this easier, use technology. My daughter works for a company that sells sensors for the manufacturing industry. And they have sensor for pressure, color. And we have had this conversation several times. Hey, you need to ask your company to make sensors for the level of the drinker, for the pressure of the pipeline, for everything. There's already the technology, but those people in that company, they don't know what we need. If we don't tell them, hey, this is what we need, they cannot develop what we need. So that's where young people can communicate with the ranch and with those companies. That's what I will encourage young people to do.
Well, and you've just given me ideas of the next couple of people I want to invite for the webinar is like someone in software, because there's also, you've talked so much about like there's the technology and then converting the technology into something that's interpretable. And then there's the technology itself. Like there's all this engineering that can go in. So again, like the thesis of this webinar is people can be involved in the food system in a lot of different ways to support all this. So I love that you gave a couple more examples.
Well, and something else very important. Our industry is under attack because, as I told you, it's depressing for me to see all this land deteriorated. Those environmentalists, they have some good arguments. But if we show them, hey, some people are mistreating land, some people are mistreating cattle or animals, but some we are not. We are running our land and our cattle in a sustainable way, in a restorative way, and in a good life stockmanship, with good stockmanship, to keep our cattle low stress. Some of us were doing the right thing. And if those some of us are more and more, we can take out our industry from that continuous attack. Don't give them more arguments. Let's start giving them answers, and they will start backing up, hopefully.
Yeah. And I think it points to how we have to talk to each other, right? Because people are bringing knowledge and values from different places. And when we can actually talk to each other, that's how we can actually find solutions of like, oh, this is a really good point. This is something that can help address that. And
if they blame us for something and our reaction is, no, they are crazy, we don't listen to them, there's no dialogue. But if they say, hey, we see this happening, and we can tell them, hey, yeah, this is happening, but we are solving it this way. Wow, that's a very different scenario. So I agree with them in some points, and I disagree with some ranchers in some points, but I have to take the ranchers, let's communicate with these guys, and we can find solutions if we do our part in a good way.
Great. All right, getting close to the end of the questions. If you were going to hire someone to help you in your work, what would you look for in the person you want to hire?
First, they need not to use a phone. The least I need is somebody on the phone. I would like, well, depends. If it's an old guy, I would like knowledge, experience, and problem solving. If it's a new guy, I will comprehend that they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the experience, but I will look for willing. First of all, in order to be able to learn, you need to know that you don't know anything, everything. So, yeah, knowing that they don't know enough, willingness to learn, it will increase my patience to them if I see them trying. Maybe I won't be so hard if they make a mistake, as long as they are trying in a good way. And I had to learn that with my kids as they grew from teenagers to now. I expect them to come from college, be a professional. I had to be in that part, and I had to, okay, let's be patient with them. And I see the results. I made them more free to make choices, and hopefully that will help them. So I will look for willingness to learn. If they come, that's a problem that I see very often in young people. They think that they know because they run YouTube. No, I saw this in Instagram, and this, no. Go and see it in the real life, and you will find out that what you know is not even now that I see myself compared to myself 30 years ago, I didn't know anything then. But then I was strong enough and willing enough to resolve my problems. That's what got me here. But if I had not used my strength and my willingness in a good way, if I was distracted, because that's all what the phone does. If I was distracted in something else, I will not be where I am. As I told you, I'm not the big investor, but I have accomplished with God's will and my family's help, we have accomplished enough. We're happy with what we have accomplished.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think, just to pull out one thing you said in particular, it's if people are really genuinely trying, you expect them to make some mistakes, but it's not,
not that bad.
It's really different to make a mistake when you're distracted than to make a mistake when you're trying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. What else were you thinking of as I had invited you to this webinar and you knew you were going to talk to some future students? What would you like to add?
This is what we do. We apply knowledge, experience, and technology to restore grasslands, hair efficiency, and profitability of the ranches, so we can face weather, markets, and future. Sustainability now is not enough. That's the transition that I was able to accomplish there in Mexico. From having nothing, no grass, within 4 or 5 years, we turned this pasture into this. And there are 3 areas for marketing. This is the very last part of my presentation. There are 3 areas for marketing. Something is the what you do. For example, you go to a fair where they sell products for a ranch, and you find a saddle maker, and a saddle maker will tell you, well, you ask him, what do you do? I make saddles. Okay, good. But if he tells you how I make saddles, well, I take the best tree and I take the best leather and I put my talent into it so you can have this saddle. That guy will sell, it's more easy for me to buy something from him than from the guy that just told me I make saddles. But if that guy tell me why he makes that saddle, if he said, well, if you're looking for a reliable saddle that will endure for several years under work, I have it for you because that's what I do. If you want a saddle that is very decorative and you don't use it in the hard way, but you want it to look nice, I can do it. So that guy tell me what he do, how he does it, and why. That guy will sell ways more. So this is actually, when I made my presentation, this is what we do. We restore grasslands, career efficiency, and profitability. How we do it? Well, applying knowledge, experience, and technology. Why we do it? Because we care, and this is what we care about the most, the future. And by future, I mean my kids and my grandkids. I want my grandkids to have a better place than what I had, not the process that I lived on my own, that I saw grasslands become bushlands. So this is why we do what we do. And all this presentation talks about how to apply knowledge, experience, but it will take us too long. What I said about with good restoration, we will make better the capacity of our soils to restore water, soil water, agua subterránea, the quality of the air. We will produce food for humanity with erosion control. That we should do it just as a good stewardship, but it's also the way we make our better living. And that's how we can defend our industry. And now, so that's something that I didn't say. Maybe I will become the first guy to sell carbon credits by restoring the land I'm running. So, in one hand, I will produce more beef, more profits for myself. I'm doing a benefit for the community, for the humanity, and I'm getting paid for doing so. So that's what I will encourage younger generations to strive for.